Dodge TV studios with Terry Bell for today's community comment.
Thank you so much, Jake. Well, the race for Wisconsin governor, a major development this week. Congressman Tom Tiffany emerged as the Republican frontrunner after securing an endorsement from President Trump. Today, we're joined by Congressman Tiffany to talk about his vision for Wisconsin, the latest developments in the campaign, and the challenges ahead. Congressman Tom Tiffany, welcome to Community Comment.
Terry, it's a pleasure to be introduced to you, and thanks for having me on the show this morning.
We're very happy to have you on the show, and we're happy to welcome callers too as well. If you would like to join the conversation, if you have a question for Congressman Tiffany, you can call us or text us at 920-887-9595, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. Well, you know, the obvious question, first of all, how do you expect the president's endorsement to shape the rest of your campaign? What's different now than it was the other day?
Yeah, well, I really appreciate the president's endorsement. If there's one thing I know about President Trump, is that he loves Wisconsin. He's campaigned here numerous times through the years, and whenever I see him, he asks, how are things going in Wisconsin? He loves the state. He wants us to do well. And so I think it largely clears the field. I mean, we don't know for sure if there will be an active primary, but at this point, it looks like we will be clearing the field. And I have run this campaign from the very beginning, looking towards November of 2026. Wisconsin has major challenges ahead of us. We saw last month when people got their property tax bills that largest tax increase in 30 years. Energy bills are among the highest that people have seen, and our educational attainment is in decline here in Wisconsin. So we've got a great state, good people, but we need to turn around things on the public policy front, and that's the message I'm going to be delivering to people in all 72 counties around the state, how we can make Wisconsin one of the shining stars in America.
As you alluded to, probably your most viable primary opponent, Josh Shulman, he's a frequent guest here on Community Comment. The Washington County executive decided to step aside. I know candidates are often perfectly happy not to have a primary, but on the other hand, maybe are you missing out on an opportunity to better introduce yourself to voters in Wisconsin who may not know you well yet?
No, that's a very good question, and I've always encouraged that there be active primaries, that there be candidates on the ballot so that the people get to know where the candidates stand and so that they can make an informed decision about candidates. But I have a long history. I started in local government, served a couple terms on town government. I've served in the state legislature and now in Congress. So I've seen how it works all the way from local to the federal level, and I think that experience is good. 20 years I was a small business owner up in the north woods of Wisconsin with my wife, Chris. So I really have this broad history and background, having grown up in a dairy farm in western Wisconsin, deep roots in the state of Wisconsin. I think people will find that I'm Wisconsin through and through. Josh Shulman ran a good race. He's a good man, and he wants nothing but the best for the state of Wisconsin. And, you know, he ultimately decided that it just wasn't his time now, but it could be his time in the future at some point.
Oh, you know, you're off to a good fundraising start, roughly $2 million in reported filings, as far as I know. I guess, you know, what does that say about the position that you're in right now? Here we are at the end of January.
The most important part of the fundraising, so you are correct that I raised over twice as much as any candidate, Republican or Democrat. But the important part of that, Terry, is that I received donations from people in all 72 counties. As governor, I will represent people in every corner of the state, and people recognize that, and so it's real heartening to see people contributing from across the state. But I've had donations large and small, but thousands of donors from the state of Wisconsin are contributing to me. lots of people with $25 and $50. So it's a very broad-based support that I'm getting, and I think that is important because I will not be beholden to a single person or a small group of people. I will be beholden to the good people of the state of Wisconsin.
We're talking with Congressman Tom Tiffany of Wisconsin's 7th District in northern Wisconsin. He's also the Republican frontrunner in the race for Wisconsin governor. We need to take a quick break here, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
These are the happenings in your community. Thank you for joining this edition of Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge, presented by Professional Floor Covering.
And we are back with more Community Comment here on 95.3 WBEV. Here's Terry Bell.
Thank you very much, Jake. Our guest today is Congressman Tom Tiffany, the Republican frontrunner in the race for Wisconsin governor. If you have a question or a comment for Congressman Tiffany, we invite you to join the program. You can call or text 920-887-9595, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. Also this week, you've called for a full investigation into the shooting of Alex Preddy, the Wisconsin native who was killed by federal agents protesting in Minneapolis. What is it you hope that an investigation will help get to the bottom to?
I think in regards to both of the deaths in Minnesota that have happened the last couple of weeks, it's terribly unfortunate that they have happened. But the important thing now is to understand what happened, and that takes a full investigation to make that happen. And so that's what I'm calling for at this point. And I think it's part of the reason why the president sent Tom Homan to Minnesota, who has decades of law enforcement experience, including dealing with illegal immigrants. And it's important to get to the bottom of this, and I'm counting on them doing that full investigation to find out what happened.
Are you concerned? The public opinion seems to be very much concerned about this, and are you concerned that maybe this will affect public support for immigration enforcement in general?
People voted for immigration enforcement in November of 2024, and I think that they still support it. is always terrible to see a loss of life like that, and I think that's what people are responding to, and rightfully so. But at the end of the day, when we're talking about immigration enforcement, the most important thing that we can do is have cooperation between law enforcement. For example, Terry, if I'm elected as governor, I'm going to make sure that law enforcement at the local, county, state, and federal level work together. Because what's happened is the governor of Minnesota said to people, get in law enforcement space. That's not a good message from an elected leader. And we should try to make sure that all of law enforcement is working together, because there's some bad people that came into this country over the previous 4 years. 10 million people came in illegally. You know, you look at Venezuela, they emptied their prison. And so you've had some murderers, rapists, and others who are illegal immigrants that are in these communities, including in Minneapolis and St. Paul, and they should be removed from the streets. And the only law enforcement that can do that can deport these people is federal law enforcement. Local law enforcement can put them in jail, but they can't remove them from the country. And so it's important that there be this full working together of all levels of law enforcement. That's what I would do as governor.
If elected governor, you've also said that you would call for a special session to overturn Governor Evers' what's been known to be called the 400-year veto, his line item adjustment to a budget item that created increases in public education spending for 400 years. I guess, is it time maybe for the line item veto to go away, or are you just concerned about this particular incident?
Yeah, that's going to be the legislature's job to decide whether they want to change the line item veto. And that's their decision whether to do that. But I do believe it was incorrect on the part of Governor Evers to change a couple periods and dashes, as in hyphens, and be able to create a tax increase for 400 years, especially with the property tax. People saw in their December property tax bills the largest increase on a statewide basis in 30 years. I mean, you're going to tax people out of their homes doing that. So what I'm proposing, if elected as governor, first day, I'm going to call a special session of the legislature to overturn that 400-year property tax increase. We got to make home ownership more affordable, not less affordable.
How do you propose doing that? And also, Democrats would say that this is a symptom of the problem that public education has been underfunded for a great length of time.
Well, if you look at the numbers, Terry, we're up to over $18,000 per student in Wisconsin now. $18,000 for every student, and that's the highest it's ever been in Wisconsin. And there's 50,000 fewer students than there was like 10 years ago. And so it's not a matter of a lack of funding. What it is accountability. And what we need to do, in my estimation, make sure money goes to families and their students. Let's pay good teachers more money to make sure that they're getting compensated appropriately for doing their job, and then hold administrators accountable. And it's that accountability side of it that we're going to make sure that is put in place so the taxpayers know that their dollars are being used appropriately. I think we've seen so much growth in administration rather than money going to the classroom. That's something that needs to be addressed.
We're here in Beaver Dam, where a big topic of conversation is the Meta AI data center that's under construction. Some people are very opposed to it. Some people are very supportive. I think a lot of people even are kind of somewhere in between, just have some concerns. I guess as governor, Wisconsin has become a big data center magnet. And as governor, would you encourage more data centers, or would you want to maybe pump the brakes on this momentum that's happening?
So you're correct. There is a lot of interest in Wisconsin for the data centers to be built here. And there's a couple, like you said, Beaver Dam, and I think there's one under construction right now over in Fort Washington. And the key thing that I'm concerned about is I want to make sure that utility ratepayers do not have to pay more as a result of the construction of a data center. So your local manufacturing business that's been in Beaver Dam for a long time, they shouldn't suffer the consequences of a data center coming in using enormous amounts of electricity, and then they have to pay more, or they get their electrical power interrupted as a result of the use of that power. So that's one of the key things that I'll be focused on is let's make sure that we're not harming existing ratepayers, including home utility ratepayers. The other thing is I don't believe there should be subsidies for them. I mean, these are, multi-billion-dollar companies. I don't think that they should be subsidized by the taxpayers of the state of Wisconsin, and I do not believe that they should be converting productive farmland by using subsidies, just like I don't support converting productive farmland into wind and solar facilities. We should be protecting our farmland, not subsidizing it away.
Just a minute or so left in our conversation. I turned up some interesting trivia getting ready for our conversation, and it's probably meaningless, but and you're probably aware of this too. No sitting U.S. representative has ever been elected to Wisconsin governor. Does that concern you at all?
I don't know. Double check that, because I thought there were a couple, but it's been a long time. If your point is that it's been a long time,
it's probably been a long time.
It has been a long time. But I think when you look on a dairy farm with my 7 brothers and sisters in western Wisconsin, worked my way to UW River Falls, been a small business owner for 20 years. My wife and I have 3 daughters. They all went through the local public school up at Minocqua. I think that background that I have fits Wisconsin. And I know that Wisconsin can do better. And I'm hearing around the state from voters saying, gosh, something's amiss in Madison. We know Wisconsin can do better. And that's what I'm going to do is provide the leadership to make Wisconsin more affordable, more prosperous, and a great place to live, work, and play like we've all seen through the years. And let's stop this decline that we've seen, because we don't want to end up like Minnesota or Illinois. Let's be one of the great states of America.
Tom Tiffany is a U.S. representative from northern Wisconsin's 7th Congressional District. He's also the front runner in the race for Wisconsin governor's, the Wisconsin Republican nomination for Wisconsin governor, that is. Congressman, I want to thank you so much for joining us on Community Comment today.
Terry, thank you for making time for me today.
Very good. Coming up next, we're going to talk about the Dodge County Mammoth. But first, we need to take a break for the news. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
send it back down to the Daily Dodge TV studios with Terry Bell for more of today's community comment.
Thank you very much, Jake, and welcome back to Community Comment. We want to thank Tom Tiffany for joining us the first half hour of the show. Tomorrow on the show, we'll be welcoming Nick Smith of the Beaver Dam Fire Department, talking about different kinds of things, keeping us safe here in the community, and the great work of the Beaver Dam Fire Department. For the next half hour of the show, we're happy to welcome Kurt Sampson of the Dodge County Historical Society about a really cool discovery concerning the Dodge County Mammoth. Now, we've all been familiar with the Dodge County Mammoth for a very long time, but there are some fairly recent developments in our understanding of exactly of this creature's life, and maybe life all over Dodge County because of what we just learned. So first of all, Kurt Sampson, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me back.
If you'd like to join the conversation, you can call or text 920-887-9595 or 885-4446. Well, first, for those who don't know, please get us caught up on the discovery and the exhibiting the Dodge County Mammoth over the last 30 years.
Okay, sure. So this mammoth was found about 30 years ago by a local farmer named Steve Persha. Many people in the county, especially in the Mayville area, know of Steve Persha. I believe Steve Persha was 98 years old when he died about 10 years ago. And when he died, his two daughters, Diane and Sandra, were generous enough to donate what we call the Persha mammoth to the Dodge County Historic Society right here in Beaver Dam for display. And Steve found this mammoth, like I said, about 30 years ago, literally digging a ditch by a farm field. And he gathered up about, not even quite a quarter of the bones, but there's enough of it there that we were able to identify it as an actual mammoth from the Ice Age, and that it was a juvenile based on its relative size to a full-grown mammoth. And for many years, Steve had these bones on display in a barn, in a shed at his farm in Mayville. He owned a farm off of Highway 67 in Mayville. And he also had a very large prehistoric artifact collection that he collected from all over the state and the country over his lifetime. And we were also fortunate to get a portion of some of those artifacts donated to the museum. And when we first got the mammoth this was back about 2015, I had a young woman named Crystal Elsey, who is from the area. Crystal grew up just down the road off of down by the fairgrounds, by, what's that town called right there? Prairie...
Boy, I wish I
I'm having a mental fart here for a second. But anyway, so Crystal was a graduate or a student at Madison at the time, and she was looking to do a museum internship. So she came and helped us to develop the initial exhibit for the bones that we had. And the bones consisted primarily of a lower left mandible jawbone with 2 teeth in them, a very large ulna, several rib bones, several vertebrae and tailbones, and one complete elephant foot of the mammoth. And we studied those bones and figured out what they were, showed them to a couple experts like Dan Joyce, formerly of the Kenosha Public Museum, who is somewhat famous for excavating another mammoth in Wisconsin called the Mud Lake Mammoth, which was found in Kenosha County roughly about the same time as the Persha Mammoth discovery. And interestingly, the Mud Lake Mammoth was also a juvenile mammoth. But the one thing about the Mud Lake Mammoth was that was shown to have definitive prehistoric stone tool cut marks by Paleo-Indian hunters that showed that particular animal was either hunted and butchered or scavenged and butchered.
Right, and that's the recent discovery. This is what you found out within the past few months?
Well, I've known about the Mud Lake Mammoth for many years.
Oh,
but
the Mud Lake Mammoth. I was talking about forgive me. I was thinking about the recent discoveries you've made about the Mayville Mammoth.
Yeah, about the Mayville or the Mud Lake Mammoth, or the Persha Mammoth, I'm sorry. So the recent discoveries, circling back, for many years, I've been thinking about doing a radiocarbon date test on the bones. And just about 2 months ago, I just decided that it's time to do this, right? One of the reasons that we didn't do it initially was the expense. It costs about $1,000 to have a radiocarbon date done, somewhere between $800 to $1,000. And you have to send the bone to the company, and they have to partially destroy the bone to get that sample by burrowing into the bone material, taking a sample out. And we did what's called a accelerator mass spectrometry dating, which is the most accurate type of C14 dating. And that test came back with a 95.4% accuracy, dating the Persian mammoth between 16,370 to 16,063 years before present. If you put that in terms of BC, or before Christ, that's right around 14,400 BC. So a long time ago.
Absolutely. What does this information tell us that we didn't know before?
Well, it tells us, one, that the glacial climate in Dodge County at that time, in the Iron Ridge, Hubbard Township area where the mammoth was found, was glacial ice-free at that time. And that the other thing that this could possibly tell us is that on the large ulna leg bone, there appears to be possible stone tool cut marks on this mammoth as well. And one of the experts, Dan Joyce, who looked at some of the marks on the bones, he was under the impression that these were possibly trample markings by other animals trampling on these bones once this animal was deceased. The other thing about it was that there appear to be some gnaw markings on it from possibly a dire wolf, which is another Ice Age animal. But the other interesting thing about this discovery was that in the same trench, there was found an inner core horn piece of an extinct species of bison that was also found in the same trench at the same depth. And we have identified that horn piece to be from what we call bison antiquus, which was a form of Ice Age bison that was contemporaneous with the mammoth at that time. Now, being that this was found along Wildcat Creek in that part of the county near a water source, it's possible that these animals got stuck in the mud and just died from not being able to get out of a muddy situation, or maybe a possible sinkhole, or in the riverine area of that creek at the time, and then were just trampled by larger animals. But it's also possible that this might have been a Paleo-Indian kill site where they were actually processing these animals for the meat. And some of the markings on the ulna bone appear to be in areas where you would assume that they would make stone tool cut marks to deflesh the animal for its hide and the meat on the bones. So we're going to be taking a closer look at the markings on these bones to see if, in fact, that they are just trample marks from other animals stepping on these bones, tooth marks from other predators, or possibly the stone tool cut marks from human occupation. Now, if it turns out that these are stone tool cut marks, that tells us that people were in Dodge County 16,000 years ago, which pushes back some of those dates by a couple thousand years. Now, the Mud Lake mammoth, which did show signs of human modification, that mammoth is about 1,000 years younger than our mammoth, but still much older and showing human occupation in southern Wisconsin much earlier than we thought.
That would be an exciting discovery. So
yes.
More to come. Speaking of which, we need to take a quick break right here, but we'll be right back. You are listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
When beaver Secretary Baum.
Thank you, Jake, and welcome back, everyone. This is Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV. We're talking to Kurt Sampson of the Dodge County Historical Society about a mammoth discovery many years ago that many of us are already aware of, but some new developments which may, as I understand it, maybe give us some information that people were here in this area long before we once, or up to this point, thought.
Yeah, and we know that Paleo-Indian people, or what we typically call First Peoples, were in Wisconsin, especially in the Driftless area, at the end of the Ice Age. You have a glacial ice sheet corridor in southwestern Wisconsin where people are migrating into the area. But it also appears that in southeastern Wisconsin, especially down in the southeast part of the state in Kenosha County, coming up into areas in the Dodge County, that there were ice-free corridors between those ice sheets of the Green Bay and the Lake, what's called the Green Bay lobe and the Lake Michigan lobe of the last Wisconsin glaciation. There have been Paleo-Indian artifacts found in Dodge County, especially around the Horicon Marsh. Clovis points, which are large, long lance-type spear points that the Native Americans at that time used to hunt Ice Age animals like mammoth and mastodon. And so we know that those people were here by at least 11,300 to 12,500 years ago, roughly. But being that this mammoth is several thousand years older than that, it could open up some avenues for telling us that ancient people were actually in Dodge County for much longer than we actually thought.
Especially if it turns out the animal was hunted, and that's a matter of some debate right now.
Exactly, and we have a couple of goals that are next in the research. One is I'm speaking with extended family members of the Persha family, some of his granddaughters, and they are giving us information about where the exact location of the discovery was, and we're pretty confident we have that location now. And if I can work it out with the current landowner, I'd like to go back out and continue to do some more excavating. When Steve Persha found this mammoth, it was always his dream to go back to the location and do some more digging with the backhoe and see if he could unearth more of the actual skeleton. What I was told by Mr. Persha many years ago was that he found those bones about 7 to 8 feet below the surface. So they're quite deep. And we would probably have to utilize a backhoe to do some test pit excavations to see if we can uncover any more bones. And if we're able to do that, then we would go into an actual more systematic archaeological excavation where we would go down and excavate, doing controlled layering of the excavation. And partly because that if there are human stone tools or other artifacts that are associated with the remains that may or may not be out there still, we don't want to lose that information. So you want to, have a little bit more of a controlled excavation. The other thing that we're going to do is there is a professor at the University of Oshkosh that has a certain type of high-powered microscopes, and he has offered to take a look at the ulna bone that has possibly some stone tool cut marks on it, to examine those a little bit closer with a microscope and then compare that to other known cut marks on mammoth bones like the Mud Lake mammoth. Another possible mammoth that we could also compare it to would be the Hebrew mammoth, which is the mammoth that was found by Dr. David Overstreet roughly 35 years ago, also in Kenosha County, that also exhibited signs of human modification right about 14,500 BC. So all three of these radiocarbon dates from the Mud Lake, Persha mammoth, and the Hebrew mammoth, which is in the Milwaukee Public Museum, are all pretty close to each other. And if it turns out that the Persha mammoth gives us more information that in fact that it was a hunted or butchered animal, that would push back human occupation in Wisconsin by several thousand years.
Wow, that's just amazing. And also, it sounds like some more testing on these bones could help give us some information about perhaps this animal's a migratory path. I mean, where it maybe once lived before it ended up.
Yes. One other test I'm considering raising some money to do is called a strontium analysis test. And what that is basically is that any living organism that is born and lives in a particular area and they're ingesting food and water from a particular area, that leaves a chemical signature, especially in your teeth. And they can do testing on those teeth to figure out where that animal originated or where that human being originated from. And it's possible that this mammoth had a large migratory area where it might have even originated in northern Illinois and had migrated its way into Wisconsin. And also, we know that it's a juvenile mammoth, but we don't know the sex of the animal. We don't know if it was a male or female, or its exact age at the time that it died. African elephants and mammoth have very similar genetic makeup, like humans and chimpanzees do. They have the same gestation period, the same lifespan. Mammoth gets 6 sets of teeth in their lifetime. There have been several mammoth teeth found around the state in farm fields, but very few skeletons. So now that we have a pretty good idea of where this animal was found, it's my intention to hopefully go back out there and to do some more excavating. See if we can find some more of it.
That would require the cooperation of the current landowner.
Yeah, and this project is way bigger than me. Even though I am a professional archaeologist, I'm going to have to dip into my friendship base of archaeologists to get that done. There are people out there that are more experts in excavating this type of site than I am. Mm-hmm. So I'd be, relying on people like Dan Joyce and some other archaeologists that are a little bit more knowledgeable to help us out if it comes to that.
Just a minute or so left in the show, but, what can all of this tell us that we want to know? What can all of this tell us that we need to know?
Well, want and need are two different things, obviously. My goal is to let the science speak for itself. While I'm very hopeful that it's possible that some of these cut marks are stone tool cut marks, it's very possible that they're not. So, empirical science has to take the forefront. And besides, it's just cool. It's just a really cool thing, And I just want to let people know that the Dodge County Historic Society is open Wednesday through Saturday from 1 to 4 p.m. These mammoth bones are on display on the first floor right near my office, and you're welcome to come in and take a look at them during our hours of operation, and I can show them to you and tell you some of the some more of the backstory. And it's just one of those really unique, rare things about. We don't know a lot about the Ice Age in Dodge County, and this can help us, some more information.
Well worth a trip to the museum.
Absolutely.
Very good. Thank you so much, Kurt Sampson.
Thank you for having me.
Time well spent.
And I can come back once we have more discoveries.
We would love to have you back. You've been listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.